Here we are another minute after I said we're starting the episode. Let's actually do it.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we talk a little bit about a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I fucked that up. I'm Sam Allman.
I'm Maddy.
I'm Elias Sailor.
And we're here to answer your question.
It's the show where you...
Yes. Okay. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I actually am Sam Allman.
I'm Sam Allman.
And I am Sam Allman.
God damn it. And today we'll be talking about the first part of Septerra Core, covering everything up until we get to Shell 3, which is not actually true. I'm going to start over anyways. I was going to keep that. God damn it.
New name of this show is Three Sams.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I can't stop laughing.
I'm Sam Allman.
And I too am Sam Allman.
Okay, thank God.
And today
we are doing this bit again, people. Come on.
It's happening. This might be our best episode ever.
We're 5 seconds in and I'm calling it best episode ever.
Better than July in Persona 3.
Yep.
This is
better
our
than
magnum
all
opus.
of Undertale.
Yeah.
Better than everything. But today we will be talking about the first part of Septerra Core, covering everything up until we get Corgan in the party. It is a bit shorter than we thought we would get to, but we all had a heck of tech troubles to get this game started. So for each of us, we wasted a whole first day that we could have been playing. So before we get all of that,
which is way more than I normally waste.
Yes.
Definitely.
How was everyone's week?
Oh God.
It got better.
It did. It did. Finally. It was bad. I had real bad weeks. That's why I didn't record podcasts last week, because everything was bad. Like, just literally everything was going wrong. And then it got worse. And then it slowly started to take an upswing. And like, there's still parts of it that sucked. And I'm very sad about. I'm not going into details because this is all very personal and
Yeah, of course.
very frustrating. And
But Eli, you see, the thing about implosion is after it implodes, it can't get any worse. The only way to go is out from there.
I mean, you say that, and yet
maybe the third time we say it, it'll be true.
This was like the last, not even the last potential implosion that could have come out of the implosion that happened in August, because there's still more that could happen.
Oh.
Dog, I really like implosion.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as I can tell, I'm not, in fact, a terrible person, and not everything in my life is falling apart. I was 40 minutes late to work today because I slept in, and I have to write a self-review, which means I have to do an hour of overtime for work because they're not letting us write our reviews on the clock. Because we're just
You should just write, I slept in because I was really, really sad.
Yeah. I mean, like, my review is going to be like, I'm trying not to pull every last strand of my hair out of my body, and you should be glad that I'm actually going to therapy again, because that's literally the only goal I could manage to accomplish this year.
Also, I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you.
Actually, I've been doing a whole lot of watching TikToks for child psychologists, and me saying that I'm proud of you keeps you in a goal-oriented mindset, and that should not be what's going on. So Eli, are you proud of yourself for making it to therapy?
Yes. Yes.
Good. You should.
Yeah. And it's important to remember to be proud of yourself because it's really easy to be super goal oriented and worry about other people's stuff. In
2021, no more goals, just vibes.
Just vibes. I agree. Here's the problem. My therapy appointment was the day before the biggest implosion happened.
So now you have to wait until the next one and just deal.
Yeah, well,
call your therapist. Hey, can we have a do-over?
Yeah, I can't actually contact that therapist directly because he's through Doctor on Demand. So instead, I called the therapist that I went to for my gender transition, and she was actually super thrilled to hear from me.
Love that.
And my next appointment for my Doctor on Demand therapist, which was supposed to be last week, is in January.
Fun.
Well, that's that.
Well, I was really sad this week because my girlfriend was the victim in Danganronpa 2, and so now I don't even know what to do with my life. Like, do I even finish playing?
R.I.P. that chapter.
It's such a good chapter because I've already told Maddy who my girlfriend is. So
actually, you didn't. Knows. I'm just guessing because I know. Yeah, I know who dies in that game, and I know what chapter you're in.
Yeah. I'm in a punk rock band, so you know exactly which chapter I'm upset about.
Yeah, no, I know what chapter you're in.
But on top of that, the class trial, because I'm playing on hard because it's fun. But the class trial got real hard, real fucking fast, and like execution of it, like not necessarily the logic or whatever. The reason I have it on hard is because I like having to figure stuff out. But the like Hangman's Gambit in this game, you have to match the letters and keep them from hitting other letters. So it's like a frantic like shmup puzzle hybrid thing, and it was real hard, and I died on it like 6 times. But in another video game, another one of my girlfriends died. So there exists a character in Xenoblade Chronicles who joins your party, and in Xenoblade Chronicles you can dress up people in like transmog. Basically, you can transmog your outfits. So I look at Shulk's outfit list, and he has about 30 outfits for me to unlock. So I look at this character's, and she has 3, and I'm like, oh no, no. And then, of course, I was correct, and she got.
Till they get
you. Don't look at a game's UI ever again.
Yeah, UI is spoilers.
It's spoilers.
Even today, the UI was spoilers.
It's true. But, yeah, so that was that. Other things happen real quick is I have 2 people I want to thank. First is our new friend in the Discord, Vivasiul. I'm guessing is how you would pronounce that. It's Vivasiul. But like maybe an hour after he joined the Discord, I just threw out a random feeler like, hey, does anybody have a solid state drive hanging around because my computer just blue screened and I can't get it to turn back on? And he's like, yeah, I got the hookup, and he's sending me a brand new one because he has the hookup.
What a fucking homie.
Yeah, for real. So that's real cool. The other person I want to thank is Anne McDade, and I know she probably actually there's a non-zero chance that she listens because she's a huge nerd apparently, but she's a neighbor on Nextdoor because I just went on Nextdoor to ask people where like a thrift store or something that sells Barbie clothes would be, because Scarlett has a lot of Barbies and not a lot of Barbie clothes, so she's getting real creative of like using Batgirl's outfit as leggings under a dress for a different one because she wants to dress them up, and new Barbie clothes are more expensive than clothes for Scarlett. So I'm like anybody know where they are. And so Anne was like, hey, I had always been saving mine for my daughter, grew up, realized I didn't want kids, so I just have had these for the last like 39 years. Do you want them? And I was like, sure. And so she brought over 2 huge tubs filled with Barbie shit, and so Scarlett went from having frankly like she's getting like 5 new Barbies from me in summer, so it's not like she wasn't having a Barbie filled Christmas, but now she's having like the dream Barbie Christmas, and it'll be super awesome. So shout outs to Anne for coming through on that. It was really, really
Thanks,
dope.
Anne.
What about you, Maddie?
Oh boy, let's see. Not the most job, so that's fun. Let's see. Kind of depressed in general. I feel like some things happened, but I forgot what they are. Last night I watched a really survival 20. It's good. It's a stuff like Too Many Cooks, like it looks like a commercial or something. It's like that, but or like Look Around You. It's like Look Around You, but it's an 80s cop training video. Until, as you would probably expect, it goes in some directions. I
need to see that.
It's insanely fucking good, but like because it's from the 80s and it's like literally like a VHS that you'd put in a CRT, in like a classroom. So like it does all this stuff with like VHS effects and stuff like that, and it does a whole lot of it, and it doesn't come off as a gimmick. It's off as like not just a great aesthetic that they clearly put a lot of work into, but like very like thematically effective how it does it. I believe it is on Amazon, I think. I don't know. I was my friend. I forget in what manner we were watching it. But also, it's an hour 24, which is a great length for.
Love hour 24. Hour 25 is a little too much. It's like hour 24 specifically every time that pops up.
I was dope. It's got a lot of good stuff to say. The acting, and like I said, really, really good. Ironic throwback, but in a really good, not cheesy way, aesthetic. Other than that, I was accused of being a sex pest by somebody on the internet. I responded with apropos of nothing, but
you were accused of being a what?
Sex pest, like a sexual harasser, like a rapist.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. No, I was arguing about politics, about something totally unrelated, and someone was like, "That's a long way to say that. That's a lot of words to say that you're a sex pest." And I responded, and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Actually, I'm not a sex pest." And accusing someone of that for no reason is actually really, really, really weird and messed up. I'd really like it if you would apologize and don't do that anymore. And then to be even more passive aggressive, I complimented his avatar because he had a nice profile pic, and then he just responds, "Thanks." A while later, I responded to him and I said, "Bruh." And that was the end of that interaction, because here's what happened. All these people kept like trying to get easy dunks on me politically, like saying really snappy little dunks, but not with really much argumentative content, just being like, "Oh really? So blah blah blah, gotcha." But what I did, instead of coming back with my own snippy comebacks, every single time someone went with me with a snippy comeback, I responded with like a full 280 character, like well-reasoned argument responding to what they were saying. And the thing is, what happens? It turns out what happens when you do that? They don't respond anymore. Because they didn't actually want to have a discussion. They just wanted to dunk on you and abuse you and assumed you would just take it. So whenever I come back in good faith and am just like upbeat and chipper and like not upset that they're being jerks to me, and I'm just like, that's an interesting point, but I think that blah, 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 they all just get bored and leave. So that became something I was doing like out of spite. It's like, fuck you. I'm going to be the nicest bitch you've ever seen online, and you're going to hate it. Because you're obviously trying to bait me, right? But just so we're clear, not a rapist. Never, also not a sexual harasser. Also, not a. I was going to continue the bit, but I couldn't think of. Those are like the two things. There's not like another word for the same thing.
Cool.
Not a molester.
So now let's listen to my favorite track on the OST, Battle Track 5. It's got a great name. It really evokes the emotions of the piece. And then we'll talk about the plot this week. The reason this one is my favorite is because it is the almost encapsulation of the Halo guy made a JRPG battled music.
It is
exactly Halo. It is exactly Halo, and it exactly like Final Fantasy VIII battle track, and it's somehow both at the same time, and it's great. So let's listen to it now. The plot of this game has to wait, because before we get to the plot, we must address the elephant in the goddamn room, and that is games preservation. This game was made for the PC in 1998, wherein there were only 480p monitors and only one DirectX to choose from, and QuickTime was the main video format. We no longer live in 1998, so getting this game to run is a challenge, and getting the game to like run well on a modern computer is a whole other one. So the main reason that the week is short is not because we bit off more than we could chew. That like I've like played a little past where we were, and like gameplay wise, it's not like it was even hard or long or anything. But all of us wasted a night getting the game to run, and for completely different reasons. So here is some documented working in 2020 proof instructions for the three big things we ran into and how to fix them in case you're playing along. So first off, if the game does not open your first time on Steam, like it just sits on that running first time setup and doesn't move anything, you probably got this game in a Steam sale a long time ago and installed it, forgot about it, because that was fixed like in 2016. Just uninstall it, reinstall it. That's the easiest one you'll run into. Then if the game starts, or if the game starts and there are no FMVs for the logos of the companies, also uninstall and reinstall it on Steam or GOG to get that update. Then second is if you get the game to run, but it crashes instantly with a 1.04 Fatal Panic Direct Draw error, you need a new directdraw.dll, which you could go and find the normal DirectX one, or you could do the fix for the third problem, which is the least important but most annoying problem, because it doesn't keep you from playing the game. It just locks you in a time capsule from 1998. So the game was made before multiple monitors were even thought of, much less implemented. So there isn't a windowed mode or full screen windowed mode or any graphical options whatsoever. And if you force DirectX 8 to do its normal windowed mode, it breaks all the things, because it's trying to do like 16-bit color and 640 by 480 screen resolution and all of this stuff. And because it's 480p, which isn't even supported in Windows 10 anymore, it completely cannibalizes your second monitor, makes it an unusable, mixed up mess. And in fact, is the first monitor will be so small that all of your windows, their like middle point will now be on the second monitor. And so after you exit it, all of your windows are now on monitor 2 and in completely weird places. It kind of blows up in your face and it sucks. So after hours and days of searching, I have found a solution to that. So now I'm living my best life with a large windowed scanline Septerra Core on Windows 10. It took a long time, which is why I'm bringing it up now. So if you're listening on your phone or in your car, like you probably are, head over to our Libsyn page, which is rpgbookclub.libsyn.com, so you can find the episode show notes, which will have a link to the website, because you will not remember dege.freeweb.hu/ggvoodoo2/dgvoodoo2.html when I read it aloud, and you need it on your computer anyway. So go find the link in the show notes, and so you can go to the website. And what it is basically an open source emulator / wrapper / something like that for the old Voodoo graphics cards that these games were meant to play on back in the day, that takes all of their graphical information, interprets it for DirectX 11 or whatever it is that we have now in the future. So it'll do all of the like actual rendering on your modern computer and not in the old one. So things like Voodoo specific things, Gride specific things, Direct Draw, D3D, etc., all just work now. And so what you do is you go to their website, install, download the newest version, extract the file, then you run the control panel app to set things like your windowed mode and your scaling and your scan lines and all of your fancy features. Then you want to copy the configuration file and all of the files in the x86 folder into your main Septerra Core folder, not in any subfolders, as we found out it doesn't work on Eli's. And that will make you be able to play Septerra Core in the future, and it's great.
I do have one more slight tip, because I also had to go through all this rigmarole, but you forgot the most of all, if it applies to someone. This game does run on Mac, but is 32-bit. So if you have a Mac that isn't OS Catalina, I don't know how hard it is to get running on that, but I heard it's pretty fucking easy. So if you happen to have a pre-Catalina Mac, or if you have like a partition or something that can play 32-bit games, that might be easier than everything Sam just said.
Yeah, it might be. I want to say the Mac version like does like a small like wine instance or whatever, so it's like exactly a virtual machine of what you need. I think so, because
I couldn't
the download
do it 'cause I have Catalina, but yeah.
Yeah, the download for the Mac version is twice as big as the one for the Windows version, so I'm guessing it's a wrapper. But anywho, if you can't for some reason get it to work, join the Discord, hit me up. Apparently making Septerra Core run in 2020 is a new hobby of mine. I learned a whole lot of new things about it, so I'm pretty good at getting it to work.
And don't let this all dissuade you, because like it wasn't actually like that hard. Like it took me I had to go through a lot of work like searching forums and shit. But once I found the right thing, it worked instantly. Well, not quite instantly, but like it was like if you use the links that we're sending you, it will not be that hard actually, because finding that information was the hard part, because this game is not very popular or well documented.
And on top of all of that, if you have a single monitor, just download it from Steam and run. You won't even fucking notice the difference. Like, just use the default. It runs fine with the most modern update. But if you have multiple monitors, it'll be a hootenanny.
Oh no, all this stuff happened to me. I don't have multiple. Happened to me because it just did.
Maddy had the fatal panic error. So if you have the fatal panic error, you'll need this. But if you don't have the fatal panic error and you don't care about scan lines or anything like that, just download it and run it.
Fatal panic error. What is that? Me most days. Okay, sorry, Eli.
I was gonna say I do frequently panic when things are fatal.
But with all of that out of the way, we can finally load the game and start talking about what actually happens. So right off the bat, the game starts throwing a whole lot of information at you. So before we even start playing, we get the attract mode that sets the stage of the game. It's really rather important, though you can find most of it in books in the library later, but I'm going to go over it now. So Septerra is the world on which this game takes place, and it is a very unique planet. It is made out of 7 continents that are all at different elevations, and they rotate all around a singular core, like one of those nerdy like desktop toys with all the concentric strings.
Septerra.
Yes, Sept.
It all makes sense.
7 continents, Terra. 7 continents, 7 levels. It's really
and it
cool.
has a core.
and it has a core. So the movements of these shells generate power for the core, which is a massive biotech computer that controls the movements of a shell. So it's kind of a perpetual motion machine that sustains the life on top of it. Pretty cool. The core contains a, quote, secret, which can only be opened by using 2 hidden keys. The creator left these keys so that mankind could inherit his power and access the kingdom of heaven, which is like way cooler than just asking Jesus into your heart for salvation. I probably would have stayed a Christian if they gave me like some epic JRPG quest and a sword, but whatever.
Also, fun fact, speaking of Christian, this stuff is all very heavily based in ancient Babylonian mythology, which I'm not very familiar with, but one of my viewers on Steam sure was. Shout out to Zesahedron, who is just a font of very idiosyncratic knowledge. Gotta
love it.
But yeah, so there's a lot of, and if some of the stuff they're referencing sounds like Bible-y stuff, that's because Bible-y stuff and Babylonian stuff are very similar in a lot of ways because those societies existed at similar times.
Nice.
And, you know, we're like invading each other. Babylonian. Like, that's why. They're not actually Bible references, though. They're Babylonian references. Okay, go on.
That's cool, because I make a joke about a Bible reference later, but it's good to know that it's not actually a Bible reference.
Well, some of the stuff could be Bible. I don't know enough about the Babylonian stuff to know what is and isn't, so maybe some of it's Bible stuff. I don't know.
Maybe so. Every 100 years, the continents align in a particular way that lets sunlight hit the core, which lets the keys be used. Many times over history, there were attempts to make it happen, but as the voiceover says, the world was not yet ready. One time, there was a fallen seraphim named Gemma who came real close, but he was evil as hell, so the creator sent Marduk, his, quote, only begotten son, to stop him in a battle that raged for 100 days. Have you ever done a strenuous physical activity for 100 straight days? Like Marduk, that's insane.
Have you ever tried doing what's that one exercise that's like crouch walking, like squat, like
Pilates?
walk squats? Yeah. No, is that what that is when you're just doing squats but you're also walking?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I literally have no idea what Pilates
is. It's just a pretty simple. No, it's just a simple exercise that anyone can do, like at the gym. The point is,
Pilates are a rice dish.
Yes.
Anyway, well, okay, different joke.
The main bad guy of Dragon Ball.
Well, anyway, because the point is, you were saying they fought for 100 days, and I'm like, have you ever tried doing 10 squats?
Yeah. So after Marduk finally bitch slaps Gemma, he took the keys and hid them so that there wouldn't be a fight every 100 years and a big old war over them. So he hid them so that everyone would evolve as a society instead. He didn't just destroy them because he knew there would come a day in a few millennia where the world would be in crisis and they would need the creator's help. And that's the story of my whole life up until today. Would you like to hear about today?
I will say one more little thing. They didn't say this at this point. They say it later, but I feel like you're probably not going to go over all the library
go into
books
the other
stuff.
Yeah.
So one interesting thing is that when the deity sent his son, after that point, he peaced out.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm good. So I don't know what that means exactly, but the actual God creator of the world, I guess seeing all the violence and stuff, he's washed his hands of the whole thing. So he's no longer present in the world. And that was when he first sent, he's like, hey, Marduk, you go fix it. I'm done with this whole being a God thing.
Dope. So we hit new game and we are greeted with this game's aesthetic for the first time. And whoo boy. My mama always said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So I can honestly say that these graphics were impressive for 1998 and have become endearing. So getting that out of the way, these graphics are not good.
It is ugly as sin.
It is a constant oscillation between ugly in a hilarious way, which is most of the time, ugly in a bad, it just sucks way, which is some of the time, and actually dope as hell, which is occasionally.
Yes. I have described several times now in the Discord the aesthetic of this game, and it is precisely this. You know how there was that one guy in your high school whose like favorite band was Korn? He was really into anime. He wore a trench coat during like the Texas summer, and he drew with heavy pencil lines in a composition book about his novel he was working on.
Yeah,
Mine was named Anthony Fleshman. Hey, Tony, if you're listening, this game is the exact aesthetic of the sort of thing that Anthony Fleshman would think was the coolest shit ever. It is anime, but not Japanese in the slightest.
I can't remember the name of my guy from that. Oh, sorry. I apologize to you know who you are. If the guy who was that guy in Bay City High School. Sorry, I forgot your name. But shout out to you.
If you mix that with the crude 3D rendering that was available at the time, you get a weird ass look that is very awesome, but not very good. And it's a hoot. So
I think there's one more addendum I will add. The farther I got into this game, the more I realized the pre-rendered backgrounds. So pre-rendered CG backgrounds, technically the technique is the same, whether you're playing this game or Final Fantasy VII or Grim Fandango or Legend of Dragoon. So like I guess technically it's the same thing, but it does not look like Final Fantasy VII. It does not look like Final Fantasy VIII. It very, very explicitly looks like an adventure game. It reminded me a lot of like, Siberia for some reason by there's a 3-part game that came out like a decade ago, but or 2 decades ago. But anyway, for some reason, it's like, what if you're playing a top-down JRPG, but it looks like you were inside of Benoit's so-called Siberia or Grim Fandango?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I said at one point, like, I feel like I'm back in 96 and playing the Neverhood.
Yeah, it has that vibe to it for some mechanical reasons, but also very much for aesthetics. Just the way everything's laid out, I don't know.
Yeah. It's like pre-rendered, but also isometric, like a Diablo or something. And it's cool. It's weird. But we, in the cutscene, we see some dudes standing around a prophet of the Covenant from Halo. And the dudes speak some paragraphs and drop in a whole lot of proper nouns at us. And it is a lot to keep track of. And it is the exact sort of shit that I like. Like, I love when
it's literally the brain ball from Xenogears, except they're doing it in the opening cutscene.
Yes. Like, I love me a good Brandon Sanderson, where he's like, hey, here's a complex world and we're going to follow our Luke Skywalker through it to figure out everything piece by piece. But I also love when a game just starts and they're like, oh, the Marduk of the Gimma of the Gunner of the core worlds of the Chosen of the Aspartine. And I'm like, hell to the fuck yes. It's not elegant, but it's very realized. And you can tell this guy had a lot of composition books filled with this idea. But one of the guys named Gunner is having a beef with another named Lord Doskius, and Lord Doskius is appealing to the prophet whose name is Emperor Aspartine. Doskius has the keys to the core. Well, he doesn't, but the Brain Ball group does. And he's like, we should act now, even though the next conjunction, which is the sunlight beam alignment thing we mentioned earlier, is like 50 years away. Gunner is like, that's heresy. And the Emperor's like, it's also impossible. Doskius is like, well, I'm the descendant of Marduk, and therefore it is my destiny to fulfill this prophecy, as if his grandkids, who would be around in 50 years, would not also be the descendants of Marduk. Like, that's how bloodlines work. There's no reason it has to be you.
Question. Are you intending to say Gunner here, as in the Gunner who joins our party later?
Gunner does not join our party. Corgan joins our party later.
No, who's the spiky hair guy?
This is Gunner and Doskius. Corgan does not join our party.
No, who's the spiky hair guy?
Grub.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Never mind. I was like, okay, either you're confused or I'm confused. And I'm pretty sure I'm confused, but I don't want to keep being confused, so I need you to clarify. Thank you.
Yes. Grub is our homeboy. We'll get to him in a second. So Doskius storms out after being admonished for being a hot-headed fool, and Gunner's like, he's going to kill us and take the keys from our corpses, isn't he? And the Emperor's like, probably. Can you try and like stop him when that happens? And Gunner's like, yeah. So we fade to black and the game proper starts. And since this game is FF7, but every game is Star Wars, we start on a desert planet. I mean, a desert world shell inhabited by droids and scavengers who live in a big ass city.
But it's also Midgar.
Yes, they live in a big ass city called Oasis. That is like, it's a total ripoff of Midgar. Like, you look at it from the world map and it's Midgar. Like, there's no like
just what it is,
hiding around it. It's just what it is. And so in an FMV, we see Maya, a blue-haired anime girl, and Grub, a half-naked techno mage with Liberty spikes, and a dog robot named Runner, all walking up to Oasis from the desert.
Runner. That's why I was confused.
Yes,
Grub and Runner combines to Gunner.
There it is.
Plot twist.
So they're walking up and they see the battleships from the Chosen, aka the people from Shell 1, aka the people we saw in the first cutscene. So they see those ships, and Grub is like pissing his pants because he's like, wow, these are so cool. The Chosen grow their ships instead of build them. These are like giant organisms. Isn't this great? And Maya's like, get behind the fucking rock so they don't fucking shoot you. And she's like, we need to go tell Uncle. So they hop up on Gunner and ride him like a horse into town. And it's a cool way to start the game. So we make it into town and we get to see the in-engine graphics, which, like, you know, they're much better than the pre-renders. Like, normally in, like, say Final Fantasy VII, you see the pre-render, you're like, wow, I'm in the future. And then Cloud jumps off the train and you're like, I'm playing with Legos. This is the opposite, where you see the FMV and you're like, God damn it, I can't look at this for 40 hours. And then you get into the engine and you're like, okay, it kind of works here. And the talking heads are all still gross looking, but the sprites at least look fine. So the sprites remind me of things like Planescape Torment and Fallout 2-ish. Look, it fits a lot better. But the environment art is real good, late 90s isometric RPG. But like, as we mentioned earlier, it's not like a Final Fantasy 8 or 9. Like, it's not on par with its peers. Maya says that Grub should come in to see Uncle, but Grub like waffles out of it and leaves, taking Runner with him. So we, controlling Maya, get to look around the town of Oasis. We tell Uncle that the Chosen ships were seen on the shell, and some kid named Tori with Digimon goggles says, "What are you so afraid of?" So we exposit some exposition to expose him. And back when Maya was a kid, the Chosen came down to Shell 2 and they were fighting Shell 3, and they ended up collateral damaging like all of Oasis and ended up killing most of the adults because it decimated like the business part of town. It was like definitely collateral damage, but it's not like the adults were out fighting a war or anything. So the town is mostly just kids and elders that are left because they weren't working. So it's been about 10 years since then, and they've had to build everything back up. After we expose our exposition by expositing for a second, in comes Paul F. Tompkins, and he says...
What is this, a crossover episode?
So he's the mayor, and his name is the Mayor, and he comes in saying that there's a smuggler here who's been sneaking junk to other world shells, and we say that we know nothing. So the mayor leaves, and that kid Tori has somehow slipped out. Uncle is like, he probably went to class, because I don't know what this is foreshadowing. And so we follow Tori to class. If you're like me, then you wander for like 2 fucking hours because you didn't realize you should follow up on conversation with Uncle to know where the fucking class was, because it's not an Oasis. And I spent like an hour going in every door trying to find a class.
And I will say, even if you do, it's a little hard to find, because here's the thing. You have to go out to the world map, which again isn't ridiculous. I mean, I actually did do that. I figured that all out. But what I didn't figure out is it's on the other side of a small dungeon. And it's just like, I don't know, the game just started, right? And if you're in the town and if you're in a town and someone's like, go down to the church for your school lesson, you just figure you don't need to go through a dungeon. So of course, when I saw that dungeon on the world map, when I walked in and realized there were enemies, I was like, oh, I'm sure I'm not supposed to go here yet. So I walked the other direction. Eventually, though, I realized there was nowhere else to go. So I was like, I guess I'll go through the dungeon. And it turns out you have to. Actually, I just realized Xenogears does that.
It's true.
Right at the beginning.
Also, Oasis being a Midgar, you have your whole downtown, which is like a JRPG town. But then when you leave, it has its own like mini world map with like 7 places to go. You can't actually go to a damn one of them, but it's all these places. You're like, well, maybe I'm just not clicking on the right part of Midgar to find the church. So you like go with your mouse over every fucking pixel trying to find it, and then none of them are there. But we make our way across said intro dungeon, and we get to experience the combat of this game, and it's kind of actually cool. So
I'm enjoying it.
Everyone is Cyan from Final Fantasy VI, but instead of that just making Cyan worse because he's the only one, and so why would you use Cyan when you could just use somebody that only needs 1 turn to move? It instead makes the combat a constant gamble of like, how many turns should I give to doing the thing that I want? And later, after we get Corgan, it becomes even more of a like, he only has 15 health. Should I do 1 or 2 charges to try and get him? And it's a very like trying to think around all the things.
To use a slightly less esoteric reference, it's Final Fantasy XIII's battle system, where you have an ATB meter, but it's a 3-section meter, and you can choose to do a 1, 2,
cool.
or 3 section. Have you not played it in 13?
I've been saving it for.
Oh, right.
I guess I just tricked myself into saying that Longcast season 2 is Final Fantasy 13. Go and get in your donations on our
Okay, well, sorry. I just figured that's a much easier to understand reference. Yeah, you have a 3-section skill meter, and you can choose to attack after 1, 2, 3. But of course, a 2-meter attack doesn't just do twice as much as a 1-meter attack. Otherwise, there'd be no point to it, right? It does significantly more, right? So it's like, do I want to wait all the way to do a 3-section attack, or do I think a 1 or 2 will kill him significantly earlier, or do I have 2 different characters do a 1 hit because that's faster if they're both charging at once? And then there is one more thing, which is a character we're going to get later is unimaginably strong. So I am always just like charge up to their level 3 and kill the enemy in 1 hit, right? Except he has lower accuracy. So charging all the way up to his super strong move isn't, you always feel like you're all smart doing that because you waited for a really long time and you're finally going to do it. And then he misses and you're like, oh, that totally ruined my entire strategy. That's ruined my entire strategy was based on that work, because it's like almost, it might be like, oh, my other 2 party members will fight enemy A, whereas enemy B, this guy will just kill by himself, except it doesn't work. So anyways, yeah, it's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I really like it. If you play it for a while and you don't like it, Control F3 skips encounters, so you could do that.
What?
But yeah, it's a debug code. Don't do it. They put it in because for like 10 years the lava monster, that, because of course there's going to be a lava monster at some fucking point, it's a JRPG, but the lava monster's effects would break modern graphics cards. So the official website was like, hey, when you get to the lava monster, press Control F3 and skip the fight. But that works on every fight.
That's a great way to fix. That's a great way to fix your game. It's just like, hey, we couldn't fix this part, so just skip it.
Yeah. Also, we're gonna get into it later, like in just a second, but I want to talk about it now because we're talking about the battle system. Magic is tied to fate cards, which are treated like a normal lore thing, but is completely a game abstraction because it doesn't make sense for them to be an actual relic in the world, even though everyone talks to them as if they are. But so everyone has to find the ones that they want to use for their magic in the lore, but really it's just like, hey, you can, like, if you can make, since MP is shared, all of your party members can do magic at the same time. And if you do magic at the same time, it will mix together and it'll be cool. And the abstraction for that is these fate cards. But it's weird because your MP is shared by the whole party like it's a goddamn Mario RPG, and it's bonkers. But
so far the magic, other than the healing, has not done nearly enough damage to be remotely worth doing. So I personally have not touched the magic system at all because it's so far it's just completely not worth it at all. What about y'all? Am I missing something, or is that how it is for y'all?
It's how it is for us, because until we get barrier next week, that we can't mix them. But it's the similar sort of thing as the things where it's like 1 card sucks, 2 cards is really fucking good, 3 cards is fucking insane. And so
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how the fucking cards work. I cheated my way to all of the best gear, and I'm wearing it, and everything dies real fast, especially because I started using Control F3.
Nice, love it. The way it works is quite simple. You literally select the card as if it's an item, and then you click on who's going to use the card, and then you use it. That's it. I actually was confused because I was under the impression that we could already mix cards, which is why I tried to mix the water spell and the heal spell. But UI confused me, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. But Sam, you're saying that we actually can't do it yet.
Yeah, we can't do it yet. None of the ones we have mixed yet. But the way you would do it for when it happens, you would give water 1 to Maya, water 2 to Grub, water 3 to Runner, and then you could use a level 3 water attack.
That makes sense.
Or when we get barrier, you can do regular barrier with 1 card, or you can do like an earth barrier that's like barrier, but then also will like heal you if you get hit with an earth attack type thing.
Yeah, totally.
Which is pretty cool.
Sounds fun.
But, yeah, so we make our way through the tutorial hallway, and we make our way over to Aziz, the teacher, who lives out on one of the other islands of Shell 2. When we get there, Tori isn't, so we have class without him. Aziz tells us about magic, and it is the only tutorial in the game. Please read the manual. The like UI is not very intuitive, and figuring out what to do is not very easy. I didn't realize that you could talk to people without asking them questions until I read the manual, for instance, because there's just a picture of Maya on the side, and I'm like, I'm Maya. That's just telling me I'm me. But if you click on Maya, she'll talk to people. So
this game has extensive party chat, although it's not even party chat. It's like every NPC, you can have each of your party members talk to them. Very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. After we get our tutorial, we can ask him about a couple of topics to get his take on the lore. And he reminds us that he's played Final Fantasy VII because the social elite live physically above the lower class people below. And he hits that home a lot. But Tori, of course, never shows up to class, so we head back to Uncle's. Tori is there at Uncle's, and he's like, I was busy. I had other plans. And we're like, that's not cool. And he's like, well, it'll be fine if you cover for me. And we don't. And we immediately rat him out to Uncle.
That part's really funny. Kind of reminds me of Eli. Remember the pilot of Twin Peaks that happens? Remember Donna says to her sister, she's like, I'm sneaking out the window. You better cover for me. And she's like, okay. And a second later, Donna's dad comes in and is like, where's Donna? And the kid's like,
I have to be real with you.
Yeah, I think she's like, Dad, I'm gonna level with you. See that window? Yeah. I'm like, you snitch.
I should watch that show so I can laugh with you guys.
You really should.
The sister's a great character, and then she disappears for the entire show until the final episode.
Yeah.
Love it. But so Uncle is like, Tori likes to hang out over at the old pumping station, so we should go over there, see if we can talk some sense into him. When we get to the pumping station, Tori is talking to someone from Shell 3. Turns out he is the smuggler, and we just also ruined his deal. So we chew him out for putting everyone at risk, because last time the Chosen were here, they killed everyone. And then some guards from the guard of the Seven Winds. I didn't write it here, but I'm remembering who they are from later. They show up and they accuse us of smuggling, and they of course think that the grown-up in the room is the smuggler and the kid isn't important, so they let Tori go and they send us into our first boss fight, which is not hard at all. We try to follow Tori, but we can't get past a giant fan that's in our way, so we head back to town. In town, the guards are there, and Paul F. Tompkins says that he'll turn us in if he sees us because he's a dick. And he leaves his work bots to stop us from going in. And we can do one of two things. We can talk our way past them, or think that this was a tutorial telling us that we had to go into one of the other bajillion places that we have access to. So we leave the town, which then unloads the work bots from their post at the front, so you can just walk by.
Oh, that's a shame. Okay, but say what happens if you talk to them, because it's incredible. This is the scene where I was like, Holy shit, this game rules, actually.
So we walk up to the work bots and they're like, I'm sorry, Maya, I can't let you into this city. And the work bot is like, yeah, we have to stop and report you to the mayor so we can have you arrested. And Maya's like, you would arrest me? He's like, well, the mayor is looking for you. He was very specific. Stand guard. Don't let those two get away. Stuff like that. And Maya's like, well, mayor treats you like junk. Grub made you, not mayor. He goes, yeah, she's got a point. He is a jerk, isn't he? He's a slave driver. He treats us like robots. I'm sorry, miss. We can no longer talk to you in an official capacity. We're on strike. Yeah, we're on strike.
That was... I knew that it was going to come up as part of the plot, but honestly, that was like my main memorable moment because it's just
so good.
It's so fucking good. Like
so
that's...
good.
I made a Twitter post. One of the only Twitter posts that I've made.
You're on Twitter?
Ages.
Oh, that's right. You are. You just never post, which is why I forgot.
Yeah. But I was like, initial thoughts on Septerra Core. Ugly, cumbersome, unintuitive, poor voice acting, lack of proper windowed mode sucks. Cheats, though. Work bots are great. Seriously, the cheats are amazing. And I'm giving myself a raise in the form of 2300 experience every time I hit F2. But yeah, the work bots are 100% my favorite part of this game.
My favorite thing is that not only do they go on strike, but they immediately like know how unions work. Because when you try to talk to them, because when you try to talk to them, they're like, sorry, we will only speak with a union representative. Which is extremely fucking funny. Luckily, they don't block you from going past. I think there's another scene involving them being on strike later. Which is there is. Yeah, they're like, you don't pay us enough, and he's like, I don't pay you anything, and they're like, yeah, you don't pay us enough. And I think they ask for like benefits and like back pay. It's the funniest shit. It's extremely good, and it's literally you just do it because you have to get into town.
Yeah. So we make our way over to Uncle, and he says that he's heard that the smuggler works out of Outlaw Canyon. So if Tori's the smuggler, then we need to go get him, and we should take Grub with us. So we make our way over to Grub's workshop, which we could have gone to since the very beginning. And I spent a lot of time trying to like figure out if that was supposed to be class or whatnot. But we make our way to Grub's workshop outside of town, and we explain the situation to him. He doesn't seem to care until we tell him that the mayor is mad at us. Grub hates the mayor, so he goes along with us on our JRPG quest just because it might piss off the mayor. And I get
Respect.
it. Like it's a long troll, and I'm fine with that.
There's actually kind of a subplot in this town that probably isn't going to come up later, but I thought it was going to be, where the mayor does seem like everyone hates the mayor. He's like some kind of weird tyrant, but I don't get, it's like you could just depose him from this being the mayor, right? But I guess not. Yeah. Divine right of mayors or something. But yeah, so like he's some kind of tyrant, and he's like taking these robots that he didn't make and reprogramming them to be his cops, but also he's like imposing these rules that weren't there before. And like it's I don't know, a lot of the NPCs, like almost every NPC has something to say about the situation with the mayor. It's very interesting. It's probably not going to get developed. It's probably just fluff, but it was really cool in there.
Yeah. Though, as I said, there are a whole bunch of places we can go on the shell, and we can't actually do anything at any of them yet. And we leave the shell, so we'll probably come back. So it could come up anyway.
It could come up later. Yeah.
Yeah. So Grub and Runner join our party. Grub is a mage, but we don't have enough cards to make that worth it right now. So he pretty much just sucks.
Good.
But
he's really fast.
Runner,
he's the fastest character.
Yeah, he's really fast, but he doesn't really do a lot of damage. But Runner is a tank and slow as fuck. And now that we have multiple party members, we can do party chat. And if you choose Runner, he just barks at them, and it's the best thing. And if the game didn't force me to not have Runner in my party right now, I would never take Runner out of my party just so he can bark at every NPC because he's a good boy.
Fun fact, I have been clicking on the Runner bark button for every single NPC because I figure at some point it's probably going to actually do something. And I wasn't wrong. It has done something, I think, precisely 3 times this week, all towards the very end. So after hours and hours of me just clicking the button, he barks. That's it. After like 3 hours of play, he barked, and someone was like, "Whoa there, down boy." And I was like, there we go. Unique interaction.
There we go.
This is why I've been doing this for the last 3 hours.
Yeah, if you talk to the mayor and click on Runner barks and then powers up his laser, and I think that's good too.
Yeah, he does that periodically with a lot of NPCs as well. Yeah.
Now we take Grub over to the pumping station, and we run into the first Western PCs were only point and click adventure games for about 10 years puzzle, and it grinds the pacing to a halt unless you're like Maddy and you happen to like have all the pieces at once. And it made me mad that I saw that this didn't take you forever. But
I just got them all. I was exploring.
Yeah, the one in Shell 3 is a lot harder to do accidentally, but this one is still pretty annoying. So if you make it to the top of the pumping station, there's a big fan blocking your way, and there's a control panel. If you bring Grub to the control panel, he says that he could short it out and make it stop moving with a generator. So we go back to Grub's place, who has a generator, and we pick that up. That's pretty easy. So we come back and he's like, oh, I can't hook it up without a power conduit. So you go to the place called a junkyard where there's a lot of broken robots that you can like investigate and find cool items and stuff in. Like you can find an early middle engine that I gave to Maya, and it's cool, but none of those robots have a power conduit, even though you would think that's where you would find it. So I checked the junkyard and the factory and all over town. I checked the shops. I checked everything. It's just, if you take the dead end at the beginning of the pumping station, it's just there on the ground. But,
I gotta say, it's really cool that these people have a publicly accessible, have a public pumping station. Good for them. Being very accessible to, they're very accessible to people who have to go to work with a child.
Yes. Yeah, instead of just like a nursing room, they have a whole pumping station. It's like next level. But, at about this point, I started following the LP that I'm using for tips as well as just notes. And we take the power conduit and the generator, we stop the big fan, and we make our way to the next area. And, well, it's breathtaking. This is the first time in the game I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking cool. So the parallax background under our ground, which would be water in an RPG that's not taking place on Septerra Core, the parallax background is Shell 3's world map, just like slowly rotating underneath us below the clouds, and it's just so fucking cool. It's
dope as hell. I was a big fan of that. Although I actually thought the world map, I found the world map to be absolutely beautiful even before this point, though this point was even better.
Yes, it's so fucking good. But at the other end of the walkway, we have our biggest dungeon yet, which is really cool. There's a crab fight that'll be in my memorable moments, but mostly it's just a chance to use our new party members in combat, and Runner rules and Grub sucks because we don't have good magic yet. It's like you look at his stats, and his like core stat is like 25 and everyone else's is like 7, and you're like, hell yeah, Grub, use Hydro, and Hydro does 6 damage, and you're like, you know what, don't fucking use Hydro, just stop. But
just give someone a bread every turn.
Yeah. So at the other end of that dungeon, there's a whole ass continent. There's a town if you want to heal up or talk about memorable moments later. Otherwise, Outlaw Canyon is right there. So inside, the outlaws are all ninjas, and we fight a lot, and it's kind of hard. But we make our way to the end, and Tori is there. We try to talk him into giving up his life of crime, and the guard from earlier shows up again to yell at us for being smugglers. And then 3 color-coded phantoms from the cover of the manual that are like doing a prayer on the manual, they show up and just fucking ice the guy out of nowhere with no explanation.
Just to be clear, they're icing, because there's a lot of factions here. They're icing the cops who were mad at Tori for doing smuggling.
Yes. They float away, and out comes Dugan, who is Tori's customer from earlier, and a woman who in any other video game would be hot. I can tell that's what they're going for, but this is in Septerra Core. No one's hot in Septerra Core.
She's still hot.
But she is wearing the same sort of like capes and shit as the Chosens from the intro. And Dugan says that he's going to take over Wind City from the Guard of the Seven Winds with the help of Tori's guns, as well as Selena, the quote unquote hot girl. And he basically says, I think I'll do it now. And says that this shipment was the last he needed. So he hops on the ship to go and blow up some civilians. So Maya lays into Tori for war profiteering and tells him to go home. And we, however, are going to go to Shell 3 because someone needs to warn the Guard of the Seven Winds that a coup is happening.
Because of the thing that we just did.
Yes. Oops. So we hop on a motorcycle that's made out of flying cow exoskeletons and we fly off. As we are zooming away, we are sucked into the air intake of a chosen ship that was flying by. And as luck would have it, it is Dugan and Selena's ship. So we get some exposition. We survived being breathed in by the living ship, and we crawl through the air vents and snoop. We see Dugan and Selena talking. Selena says that she doesn't think that a coup is really needed since Dugan is, president and he can just be president. And he, of course, doesn't want to be president. He wants to be a dictator. And they get a holo call from Daskius, our homeboy from the intro, who asks Selena when the invasion is. Dugan is like, oh, great one. Thanks for everything. And walks off. And Daskius is like, kill him as soon as you can, please, for the love of fucking God. And he also says that lower shell people are barely human, and Selena would do well not to regard them as such in case that we forgot that he was the villain of the piece.
This is like Gongora level of obviously the villain.
Yes. 100%.
And unlike Gongora, he shows up in literally the first cutscene, and he's just like, yes, we will do our evil plot. I'm like, I don't even know who you are yet.
I don't even know what your evil plot is, but you're the villain, and I can tell that. So the ship lands, we make our way out, and we make our way into Wind City. All of the NPCs, of which there are about 600, talk about Bowman, the leader of the Guard, and Dugan, and how Dugan and the Guard don't get along, and Dugan has been trying to dissolve it to gather some power. The Guard is currently in mourning over one of their own, happens to be the one that got exploded earlier, and so they are in the cathedral locked up tight, as is tradition. But if we go into the library in the Capitol building, we can get tons of cool ass lore, which we'll probably talk about when it comes up because there's reams of the shit. But the main thing that we hear about is the catacombs that stretch between the graveyard and the cathedral. But they were sealed off after Drax, a literal fucking demon, cursed the ground there, which animates all the dead that are there buried. And the library has, in this exhibit about Drax, they have a Drax head statue, but it's locked up tight in iron chains, and we can't take it out. So
you're explaining this much more linearly than it was when I played it.
Yeah, it is. I took some liberties of cutting out what the fuck do I do? The cathedral's locked. This is the only clue that I had, and I guess I'll just walk around. It's actually interesting. I
managed to piece together the entire thing about the graveyard, about the demon, exploring the south town and all that. The head, I needed a head. There was acid. I got some acid. I did almost everything. But the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like, but I'm supposed to be going into that building in the town. Why am I doing all of this stuff at the graveyard? I'm doing it because it's there and it's a video game and I don't know what else to do. But so I figured out almost every step of the puzzle before I finally talked to an NPC who told me that there's a secret passageway from the graveyard to the guards chambers. But up until that point I was just doing it. I had no idea why there was any reason to do it.
So we got to go do a zombie dungeon real quick. So we go to the graveyard and find a single zombie whose blood is acidic. Neat. There's also a statue of Drax who's missing his head. Neat. But the gate is behind the statue of Drax, so we can't go any further. So we go exploring the nearby town called South Farm. It's called South Farm because it's south of Wind City, and they farm there. What do they farm? They farm the flying cows that got turned into motorcycles everywhere.
Game really is Final Fantasy 13. Goddamn.
Yeah, everything is bioengineered, and the Chosen are really, really good at bioengineering, and they do everything from the ground up. Everyone else is just like, oh, I built a boat. I need an engine. Let me just slap a flying cow onto the back of this and make it into an engine.
Which is where I want to mention two things. One, this game was clearly very influenced by Panzer Dragoon, which is really cool, because Panzer Dragoon has a similar thing with its technology. And secondly, this game did Mass Effect 2 before Mass Effect 2 did Mass Effect 2. Remember how Mass Effect 1, other way around, sorry. Remember how Mass Effect 1, your weapons didn't have ammo? Probably because they're like, we're RPG developers, not shooter developers. We don't want to bother having ammo? And then Mass Effect 2 was like, oh, there's been some new technological developments in the world of Mass Effect. They made the guns better, but now they have ammo. Not unlimited ammo. This game, your guns have unlimited ammo because your guns are partly biological and grow all of the bullets.
That's cool.
Oh, did you miss that?
Yeah, I missed.
It says in the manual that you didn't read. The guns literally grow their bullets. So your bullets are, I guess, like tiny little pieces of like living flesh, which is disgusting. And that's also why later in the game at some point you'll be able to attach core engines, which again, core engines are engines that harness the latent magical energy they harness the natural ether of the world created by Septerra Core spinning. And not only can you use those for casting spells like we're currently doing, but you can attach a core generator to your gun to make it better.
That's cool.
Which I think will actually drain your MP to shoot gun better, which is really cool. We haven't gotten there yet, but that's why. So your guns are living. You're holding a gun that's like a writhing eldritch mass, and it's fucked up actually.
Hell yeah. So at the shop in South Farm, they sell vials for transporting acid. Hopefully you see this and realize it's a key item because it is not marked as such, and I took forever to find this.
I figured everything else in this game out on my own and was glad that I did. But Sam, definitely the right call telling me about this. Thank you. That probably would have been too much. I would not have been able to figure that out. Thank you for the tip.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. So they sell vials for transporting acid, and we grab a few. You only need one, but I wanted an extra key item for a souvenir. We take the vials to the zombie blood and fill up the vials with some acid. Then we go back to the library, free Drax's skull from its bindings with the acid. Then we come back and put it on the Drax statue, and he, of course, comes to life. He was not a statue. He was caked in cement and was the real demon himself. So we fight him, and he summons some zombies, and he hits us not very hard, so we kill him easy. It's a cool fight, not because of Drax almost at all, but because the zombies in this game are my favorite trash mob in basically any game.
They're good.
They are basically tonberries, where their turns are spent walking towards you in a engine where your movement doesn't ever matter, and they can't attack until they get to you. So it very much lays into like the Romero zombies instead of the 28 Days Later zombies. So it's like the creeping inevitability of death, and it owns. They hit really hard, but it's not an instant kill like a Tonberries would be. And some of the setups in later fights, like in the actual cemetery, which we'll get to at the beginning of next week because I played a little ahead, but like where they start is not always to the left like a Tonberry is. It's like sometimes they'll be in like a star pattern around you, and you have to like know, okay, this one is moving every turn, this one is moving farther every 3 turns, this one is too close to Grub because Grub always dies because Grub is a literal glass cannon that doesn't have any ammo right now. And so it's like you're constantly like having to pick who fights who where, and like do I do like a 3-turn hit to try and take him out in one, or will that not even work? So I'll do a 2-turn hit or 3 1-turn hits because they're really close.
It's a real fun prioritization problem. Really cool. It's just like, oh, it's that zombie's the closest to that person, so I don't want them to get hit, so I'll attack that one before it gets to me. Or it's like, oh, that zombie's right next to Runner, but it's fucking Runner. He's got 1 million hit points. I don't care. That zombie can kill Runner for all I care. I agree. Yeah. The zombies were really, really fun and interesting.
Yeah. And as always, you try and get Runner to one hit kill one with his big old laser, but then Runner misses. And then it's like even more of a scramble instead of just like, dang it, I missed like my big move and now I have to catch up. It's like, oh no, I was relying on Runner to not let Grub die. So now like I'm going to just throw a bunch of one turn moves and hopefully get my my hands back in control. And it's really
not
cool.
be a bad time.
Love zombies.
Here might not be a bad time to give a little tip. Sam didn't know this, and I didn't know it till I looked in the manual. Stats are not quite what you think they are. Strike is accuracy.
Yep.
Power is damage. I don't know. Strike just to me sounds like you're hitting things, right? Turns out there is an accessory that you can get right at the beginning of the game that increases strike. I gave it to Maya because she's the main character, and I figure it's always good to make your main character strong and think about balance later. But once I realized what it was, you can obviously give the strike accessory to Runner. A lot easier. And also just like every time you have an opportunity to equip something that raises your strike or at least doesn't lower it, give that to Runner. Don't give Runner something that increases his power and reduces strike. It's already high enough. He's already good enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, just thought I'd mention that because that's very unintuitive.
Yeah, and he naturally has really high defense and really high attack. So if you're coming up to the armor and you only have like 500 gold and you're like, what should I spend it on? You should buy new shoes for Runner to make him faster because he is god awful slow.
New shoes.
New shoes. Second
another Twin Peaks
of the day.
Yeah. Man, I gotta say, it sounds like you all are playing a really hard game.
No, actually, it's not
really hard.
I died.
It's just fun.
One time, and remember, you can save anytime you want. So, like, I only die if I'm intentionally like being reckless because I know it's fine if I'm reckless because I'm just experimenting. No, the game it requires some thought, but it's really not very. Okay, here's the difficulty. All this thinking we're talking about, it's not am I going to win or lose the battle. It's really more like I want to win the battle efficiently and not have to use any healing items because then I feel smart.
Yeah,
not like I was going to die.
Healing items. We're only at the end of this week outpacing the basic potion that you get, the breads, where that's not a full heal anymore, and those only cost 50, and you get like 200 from every kill. So it's like trivial to stay healed. Except for I know me and Maddy are going to have the same memorable moment later, which we'll talk about.
It's a good scene.
But so after we kill Drax, we can explore the catacombs, which is a huge dungeon that thankfully we didn't have to fucking do this week. We'll obviously come back to it later because the characters are marked that there's more tomb behind these walls. If only we had a bomb. And if you press tab to bring up your map, by the way, didn't say it, press tab and bring up your map. It's really helpful.
Yep, that's a tip I didn't have until towards the end of my playing. It's very helpful.
So when you bring up tab, your map is about like 3 times the size of the pumping station dungeon that was huge earlier. But for now, we just flip a switch, hop up some stairs, and we walk through into the cathedral. So we wedding crash the funeral and warn the guards that the Chosen are coming. But unfortunately, we are too late. One of the main guards, named Corgan, runs in to say that there are Chosen battleships in the streets. Everything's on fire. There's a huge ass panic. Bowman tells his daughter Layla that she is the captain now, and she needs to be the one to save Win City. He's going to stay behind and try and run defense so that we can all escape. He orders Corgan to protect her, and we all escape into the catacombs. Right after we leave, sure enough, Dugan shows up, and he has with him 2 poorly voice-acted recurring characters, Zach Fair and Reno. I mean, Duke and Arium. Arium, aka Reno, says that they should just capture Bowman since he's like powerless and surrendering, but Zach shoots Bowman instead and he dies down dead. Dugan reprimands Arium for being spyless. He's like, you're a mercenary, what do I pay you for? Now you two go and hunt down the JRPG party that just left. So they run off after us. In the catacombs, Layla informs us of the 3-character party limit, so we have to split up, and she, Runner, and the surviving guardsmen all run off into the catacombs, leaving Corgan behind with us. And that's where we stopped for the week. So now let us listen to Shell 3's music, which is the most Halo sounding song so far, and then we will talk about our memorable moments. Okay, so I will start because Maddy is getting hers ready. But there's crab in game, guys.
Crab
in game.
I actually meant to say crab in game at one point when I was playing to you guys.
It is a giant enemy crab.
So many. So much. Crab.
You attack its weak point for 1 damage.
Yeah. So it has animations that make it look like a Zelda monster, because like it'll put up its claws and you're like, aha, I have to wait till it put its claws down. But that's just its idle animation. And then like when it powers up, it has like vents on the back that'll open up. You're like, oh, that's its weak point. All of that is a lie. It is not teaching you about weak points. It is not teaching you about waiting out your ATB meter. What it's teaching you is that some things have a lot of defense and you're not going to get any benefit for using a level 3 turn. So the way to kill this guy quickly is to use a bunch of level 1 turns. Suddenly Grub is our DPS out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah,
and
he's actually
like
the best character now. Yeah, so just to explain it in, I don't know, a slightly less Samish terms.
Other words.
Every attack you do, regardless of what it is, regardless of how powerful it is, just does 1 damage. And you find out the enemy has, because normally if you do 1 damage, you're assuming I'm doing something wrong. But instead, it's like, no, the thing has 11 hit points. You just got to hit it 11 times. So then you just pepper it as fast as you can with your weakest attacks. And it's a fun little thing. It's especially cool when the game starts putting that thing with other things. Like the game would do a mob of 1 crab and 2 other, not crabs. And what I would usually do is I would have Runner and Maya handle the not crabs with their actual strong damage. Meanwhile, I'm like, Grub, you're completely worthless when you're actually fighting things that, you know, where numbers actually matter. So you just pepper the crab. That way, by the time the other ones are done, the crab's like half dead. And that was a really neat little strategy to think of.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was when I started liking the battle system a lot, because before that, it's a lot of waiting, like an active time battle usually is. And it's worse in this game because in a Final Fantasy game, jumping forward to hit a monster is a like 15 frame max animation, and here it's like a 4-second animation. Yep. So it's like, prior to this, I just was like, oh, this is just bad. But here I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing, so I can forgive the slow pace because the strategy is much better and very worth it. But the other one of mine is so you get to the second island and Outlaw Canyon is like right there, and you go inside and you fight some ninjas and they hit real hard. They have the first AoE spell that you're fighting in the game, and so they can go around your guy standing in the middle, spin around him doing their ninja flippy shit, and it'll hit everybody for like 12 damage, and you only have like 50 HP at this point. So I'm like burning through breads faster than I can get them. It seems like everything in this entire world carries a piece of bread on them at all times. You're constantly getting bread, but I still was using them faster than I was getting them. And so I'm getting hurt like super bad, but I realized I didn't explore this island. Let me go see what there is. And sure enough, there's a town close by, so I don't have to walk back through 2 dungeons to go to Oasis. I'm like, hell yeah. So I go into the town. There's a whole lot of flying cows. And if you talk to all the flying cows, like you steal a root vegetable from each of them, which is a healing item, which is super cool. So you go into the bar and there's some ninjas at a table who are being real rowdy and yucking it up.
Oh, and also to clarify, if you go in this town before you go into that dungeon, like I did, you don't realize that ninjas are bad guys. You've never seen them before. So I went into the town first because you know it was after I'd already done another dungeon, right? So it's like, oh, a town. So like, you know, they aren't necessarily bad guys that you would think, oh, look, it's bad guys.
They just are ninjas. And so I try to talk to the ninjas for or no, I try to talk to the bartender to get a room for the night, and he says, "We don't serve your kind here." And I'm like, "Don't know what that is." We're both Shell 2 inhabitants. We're both junkers. You have the exact same NPC portrait as the innkeeper in my town.
What is my kind?
Actually, Sam, you're missing something. When you first walk in the room, this happens without you doing anything. When you first walk in the room, they like catcall Maya.
Okay, I thought that was later. Yeah. I was going off of
it's just you just
memory.
walk in and they're just like, "Hey, I forget what they say, but there's something like they're like, "I'll show you something." But then she doesn't respond. I think she maybe is just like, ugh, and then walks away. So like that's the end of the interaction. Anyway, go on, Sam.
Yeah. So the bartender is like, "We don't serve your kind here." And you're like, okay, well, what do I do? So I go to talk to the ninjas, hoping that they would be like, yeah, you see old man Jenkins, he lost his watch in the alley behind him and he's been mad ever since. Go and do this quest. No, they just catcall you again, and then you fight in the bar. And it's hard because you came here because the dungeon was hard and you have no HP. I had all of those roots that I had stolen from the cows, thankfully. So like I was able to heal up enough to do it. But it's like, oh, you were trying to get rest and relaxation, and instead you have to fight a boss fight with like 3 ninjas that you haven't done before. And it's really cool. The main reason it was hard, though, was because I had clicked on somebody to make it their turn so the timer would stop, and then Scar started crying in the other room, and as I put my mouse down, I accidentally right-clicked and canceled that turn, so that they got like 6 turns in on me. So it was like a JRPG spiral for no good reason. Oof. But yeah, it was real cool. So you beat them, then you go to go back to the bartender, and you're like, "Can I get a room, please?" He's like, "Whatever you want, just don't hurt me." And it's pretty cool. My last one is Grub, because he is simultaneously the personification of the thing that a Westerner who liked anime in 1998 would love, but also he's either the writer's favorite character or the writer's self-insert character, because he gets all of the jokes and he comes off as a lovable doof. And the way that he says,
I love him.
The way that he's his "I don't have a party chat right here" line, the way he says it, it's like, "I've got nothing to say," and it's just the way he says it is just like, you know what, that is too weird even for me, and I love it. It's so endearing, and I realize the reason that he's such a dork and he's so endearing is because he's meant to be cool, but he was written to be cool by someone who wasn't cool. Yeah. And it reminded me of when The Amazing Spider-Man came out. All of the film critics online were like, "Andrew Garfield is too cool to be Spider-Man. Look how cool he is. He skateboards in the hall." And I'm like, that's not what cool people do. That's what people who are nerds think that cool. The people who nerds think are cool do stuff like that. You think that's cool. That's incredibly fucking doofy. And that's Grub's entire character. Everything about him is stuff that's cool if you're not cool. And I love him because I'm not cool.
Just because you hadn't mentioned it. Another thing about Grub, again, this game has a lot of stuff hidden in its dialogue. Twice now so far, I've been talking to someone like an NPC, and if I have Grub talk to them, he's like, "Oh, you're having a problem with some technology? Here, I'll fix it." And then he fixes it, and then they give you like an item in thanks. Like that's happened twice so far, which is a random NPC. Like their one person had a computer, which I guess there's computers in this world, and he was like, "Oh, you need to update the operating system." And then he did that for them. And then they gave me a 1 times Kyria's Tear, which I believe is a restore is a Phoenix Down.
Yeah, it's a Phoenix Down. It's not really needed because you get like a Rogue Galaxy, you get 1 HP after the end of the fight, and you can sell it for like 2,000 gold.
Sell it
so that's
for 2,000 gold.
Yeah. But those are the main ones that I had. What about you guys?
You first, Eli.
I really like their work bots. Like that was, I spent so much time futzing with this game and being frustrated by it that I really didn't go around and talk to that many people. I was just like, I got to a point where it's just like, whatever, I just got to finish for the week. So like, I didn't try all the dialogue options, and I'm a bad RPG boy. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, that conversation with the work bots at the beginning, I was like, all right, this game has sold me at least a little bit, because this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that part was dope.
Yeah.
For me, I had a couple of fun ones. This game, I'm pretty sure they're just making jokes, but it's got a lot of like politics stuff in it. I'm pretty sure a lot of the political jokes, like I don't think they're all like making a joke to make an actual point. I think they're just doing jokes because writers put jokes in their games, sometimes haphazardly. But one of the jokes is this NPC in the Windy City is like, she's talking about how Dugan is so cool, and she goes, he stands for change, that's why I voted for him. But then like other stuff says that like he actually sucks, right? So I was like, oh yeah, I agree, fuck Barack Obama. Yeah, right. He's like, I'm imagining Dugan posters that say "change," right? Yeah, this lady's like, I voted for him. He's great. In the town, actually, I'll skip that one. That one's not big. This one's not actually that funny, but it's interesting in contrast with the previous one. This other guy says that the kingdom is no longer a kingdom; they're a corporate city-state with profit by the workers and for the workers. And then he goes, or that's what President Dugas says. And I'm like, yeah, this is very mixed, right? But I'm pretty sure they're just like making jokes. It's like, oh, look, this guy said a thing that sounds like something that a politics person would say. And I'm like, wait, so like, is this guy like a Castro type, or is he like more of a Hitler type? Or I'm not equating Castro and Hitler, I'm saying they're different. Or is he more of a Lenin type? Like, it's very, very I'm like, I don't get it. He's a democratically elected president, but he also is trying to do a coup, but also apparently he says that they're like a worker collective. It's probably not going to coalesce to anything coherent. It was the late 90s, okay? It was the end of history. But it was still interesting. And then there was one more. Here in South Farm. Angela says, you're just asking her about shit. Oh, you're like, what's that big city to the north? And she goes, oh, that's Wind City. The passions of its people rise daily over matters of state. And I'm like, first of all, that's a good, well-written line. Second of all, same. In addition, there's this weird recurring gag where people don't know what a robot is, and both Rub and Maya somehow find it impossible to take 5 seconds to explain what a robot is. When you talk to the priest guy, or the library, the monk in the library, he's like, at some point I forget what he says, but Grub uses the word robot, and he's like, what's a robot? And Grub's like, never mind. And then if you have Runner talk and bark, the monk goes, how delightful, a clockwork dog. And Maya's like, oh, he's not actually a dog, he's a robot. And then the guy's like, what's a robot? And she's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, just say it's a thing it's a fancy machine that can think, made of metal and technology. Like, it's not that hard. You can explain what a robot is in 2 seconds, right? Especially because like this world has so much other weird technology. Like, it shouldn't be blowing anyone's mind that there's a robot.
Yeah, like their motorcycles are made out of cows. Like, you can tell them what a robot is. It's fine.
It's very, very strange in my opinion. Also, there was, I think, just one more. What is this part? That's way too much. I'm not doing that. Okay. There's a conversation between Grub and a random guy named Maxon, again, in South Farm. He's a guy who sells trinkets and stuff. Grub says, you have an interesting collection of gadgets here. Maxon says, gadgets? Grub says, stuff, devices, cool things. And Maxon goes, oh, you mean my doohickeys.
The technical term.
Which is extremely good. And we haven't mentioned this yet. This entire game is voice acted. Every single line.
Oh, yeah.
all these
one.
reams and reams of completely unimportant NPC dialogue and party chat. It's all voice acted, which is insane. I do wish it let you click through the dialogue. It's all or nothing. Either you listen to the voice acting happen at the proper pace, or you hit escape and skip the entire interaction, which is a little lame. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it does get annoying when you play games that have voice acting, but then you're always clicking through the dialogue, so you never actually get to hear it because you're just impatient. Mm-hmm. So being forced to hear it is kind of nice. Finally,
until you get to Duke and Arium, who are horribly voice acted.
Yes,
you can definitely tell they ran out of like developers, so they called up like their friends, and their friends are like, "Yes, I will go and stop the JRPG party from fighting all of the bad guys. Thank you."
Also, in that second to last scene, when we barge in the cathedral, they do like a side angle shot, like the famous bridge scene in Chrono Trigger. It's very cool. Mm-hmm. And finally, surprised that no one mentioned this, when you fight the actual boss, the demon that was encased in rock and whatever, Drax, Dracula, he has a summon. Which
I didn't bring that up because it didn't happen for me. He cheats because he has an Earth card and the zombies have an Earth card, so he uses 2, but it counts it as using 3, and if you use 3 of the same card, you get a summon.
Oh, that's what it is.
So
anyway, well,
that's what it is.
I didn't know what that was, but all I did know was that the enemy. When I say a summon, I don't mean like they explain it as being a summon. I'm just like, you know how in Final Fantasy you cast a spell, but instead of just doing a fireball, the screen goes black and now you're inside of the galaxy and there's a dragon there. Like, that's what happens. Like, that shit, right? Yeah. The camera literally zooms way out and the background goes away so that you're like in a new place now, and then a giant rock monster shows up and causes like an enormous like earthquake that shatters everything, and then you take a lot of and then and then you go back into the battle scene. So it's like it's done. It really is so weird seeing these pre-rendered Western ugly Diablo graphics with literally a thing that only happens in Final Fantasy games happening. So at some point we'll get summons, and I'm really excited for that to happen eventually.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what all of them are, because that's cool.
And that's all I got.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to being able to put my normal 3 days of playing in next week instead of 1 day like I got this time. So we will stop. Let me.
Yeah, I'm glad I got it all working.
It'll be a lot of fun. So we will finish. Shout outs to Toxic Frog on the lparchive.org, who is doing the Let's Play. That is crucial to me being able to talk about this, because there are not very many guides to this. So if there was not this Let's Play, I probably would not be able to figure out where we were stopping. But we will finish the Betrayal at Wind City, which ends in the airship crash where we were going to stop before, and we will try to get to this one. The episode is called Fishing with Boom. We will try and get to get Badu to join the party. He looks like an alien man, and he can't speak anything that we understand. So he's a cool alien man. So when we get an alien man in our party, that's where we're going to try and stop.
Oh hell yeah, I love Chrono Cross.
We haven't played this game before, so that might be way too much. It might also be not enough. So we'll see. The combat's really slow, so I don't think it'll be not enough.
Yeah,
so it might be way too much. But we're shooting for the moon. There's a chance that because this game is just kind of slow, this might be like a 15 episode series. I'm trying not to, but we'll just play it by ear.
We'll see. So cool. Yeah, can't wait to get French philosopher Alain Badu in my party.
Yes, or the R&B singer Erica Badu.
I was thinking. I had to pick between one.
We've already got Billy Corgan, so we're building ourselves our own band.
Hell
Billy
yeah.
Corgi.
So that'll do it for the week. If you like what you hear, be sure to check us out at www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate. That's the real word. You can donate to the show to help us keep our lights on and pay for games and stuff. This time through was 100% funded by you guys, because on Black Friday the game cost 67 cents, so I just bought one for everybody. But
you didn't buy one for me. I bought it myself.
Oh, I was going to buy it for you, and you already owned it. So at the time,
no, I had bought it earlier that day.
How dare you? How dare you, Maddy? He was trying to be generous, and you foiled him.
Wait, on Black Friday?
Yeah.
No, wait, no. I bought mine last Wednesday. You just didn't ask.
I swear that it said you already owned it. Well, whatever.
I bought it on Wednesday.
Yeah. Anywho, so
I see how it is.
Yeah. Either way, we spent less than $4 to deck out all of us with this game. So if you want to donate for when games do not cost 67 cents, you can do that at our website. There's also links to all of our socials, most notably our Discord, where all of our precious babies live. Shout outs to Viva Suel and JFro Prime, who joined the Discord this week. And as always, for RPG Book Club, I am Sam Allman.
I have been Sam Allman.
And I'm Sam Allman.
Life before death. Have a great week, guys.
I don't get that, but good one.
It's Stormlight Archive. It's the book I'm reading. It's not even the fucking game, because I'm a big ass nerd, and that's their May the Force be with you in this tiny universe that nobody else is experiencing but me right now.
Cool.
So thanks.
Good one. No, that is good. Also, it's a dope ass phrase, so you can say it regardless of what it means or anything. Whatever. Cool. Yeah.
Dope.
Awesome.
Bye. Actually going to click OK on this timeline note, because my old one is 2 minutes out of date now that we are starting the episode.
LMAO.
Then you started talking about the Cleveland show, and
you really hate to see it.
Yeah. Maddy, if you decide to watch one singular half hour of television to see if you want to watch any more of the Cleveland show, season 2, episode 2, Cleveland Live is the best one. It hands down, that's the one you should check out.
Here's the thing, Sam. Even if I loved
It'll never happen.
I still wouldn't watch the show because, and here's the real secret, I don't watch fucking TV.
I know you don't. So you could treat it as a 23-minute movie or short film.
Oh, it's like a short film. Tell me more about these short films.
Yes.
I don't know why. It's just like,
Okay.
Hey, will you watch a 2-hour movie? Yes. Will you watch 2 1-hour episodes of a TV show? Absolutely
God,
not.
no.
Under no circumstances will I do that.
What about BBC's Sherlock, which is really 9
Well, I don't watch
2-hour
that 'cause
movies?
it's British.
Oh, okay.
that's racist.